Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 242, and I am Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I have started saying that spiel about 5 times, and I've flubbed it up every time, and it's like, it's early enough and it's not even 8 in the morning yet. I've been up since 4 and I'm a little giddy right now, like that giggly thing. So I'll try to keep that in check, but I'm making myself laugh right now. So hi, how are you? It's Monday. That's the other thing. It's Monday. Are you ready for Monday? I have my Monday mug. I posted a picture of this earlier today. With a whole bunch of yarn stuff that I need to do today in the background. But I posted it to Instagram and it kind of looked like it looked like this here. Let me see if I can do it. There. Yeah, that's how it looked. Like you couldn't see my hand. You could only see the mug, so it looked like my mug was levitating all by itself. It wasn't, but my hand was just out of the shot. So, yeah, you might have seen that picture. If you're following the new account, the at Fiber Nymph Dye Works account, because that's where I posted it, please follow that if you want to know all about my yarny stuff and what's going on with my business and updating sales and clubs and things like that. That's the place to be. It's at Fiber Nymph Dye Works. Just saying. I'm trying to get people over there because eventually I'm not going to post business stuff on my private, just Fiber Nymph account anymore. Or I'm going to try not to because I don't want to spam people who just want to see my knitting and my cats and things like that, you know. So, and my coffee mug. So, okay. So how's it going? I hope you had a lovely weekend. I was not going to record today. I was going to wait until tomorrow. But I looked at my week earlier today and I thought, I have to record today because this is going to be an absolutely insane week. We're traveling at the end of this week to go to my daughter's graduation, which I will talk about a little bit more later. But yeah, I've got a metric buttload of stuff to get done this week before then. That's a measurement in my world, and there's just no way. So I thought today I will start the week with recording the episode. I don't have nearly as much to tell you about as I did last week. And by the way, if you watched episode 241 and you got through the whole thing, I applaud you. You deserve a medal or something. I hope you got lots of knitting done while you watched it. Yeah. Oh, and also with regard to last episode, I never told you what I was wearing because I was actually wearing something I'd knit, and I usually mention what it is. And somebody did ask in the episode thread. That gold colored sweater that I had on was it's called Nantucket Red. It's a Thea Coleman pattern, Baby Cocktails. I knit that years ago, I think like 2010, and I love it. It's still one of my favorite cardigans ever. I get a lot of wear out of it, actually. It's a lighter weight cardigan, though. It's made out of Elspeth Levold silky wool, which is a DK weight yarn technically, but it's very lightweight and just it's nice to wear at this time of year. So, and in the fall. So that's what I was wearing. And this week I'm wearing another knitted item because, oh my gosh, it's cold this morning. Oh, it was like 40. I mean, it's been going into the 30s at night. I think tonight was like the last night we were supposed to have really cold temps. But my house is freezing today. So this is just one of my elongated triangular shawls that I do. No real pattern. I just threw in some like eyelet sections here and there. I knit this last summer out of some Three Irish Girls Springvale DK, Springvale, whatever their Springvale yarn is. Yeah, I had 2 skeins of that. This was a club colorway from years ago when I was in one of their clubs. And it was here, so I used it, and it's a really nice squishy. I think that's what I called it on my project page, my squishy green shawl. But it's nice and warm. So anyway, let's get started. I just want to welcome you. Thank you for watching. And if you are brand new, I hope you enjoy the episode. If you've been around for a while, thanks for coming back and spending some time with me this morning. Didn't have a chance to check the welcome thread before I started recording to see if there was anybody new that I needed to say hi to specifically. I'll catch up with that next recording. But if you did post and you said hi and introduced yourself, thank you for doing that. And if you haven't done that yet, feel free to do that. I always like to get to know people. Okay, so let's talk about what I've knit since I talked to you last. Last episode, again, was a little weird because I didn't really go through my works in progress per se, as much as I went through that giant bin. I don't think you actually saw the bin, but I had a giant bin full of all of my projects that I've got queued up to work on for Stash Dash. And so at this point, what I'm basically doing is I'm just pulling things from that to work on as I have time to knit, which I didn't really have a ton of knitting time in the last week. Well, the last 6 days. It's only been 6 days since I recorded last. But I did get some things done, including one project that you've not seen, which is now finished. My son and I went to a movie. We went to see the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie last Tuesday night, actually the same night I recorded. I usually would take a sock with me. I didn't really have any socks that were in a good place to take to movie knitting because any of my stockinette socks I had going, I'm not in an afterthought heel mood. So if I was, I could just have kept knitting on those, but I wasn't. I want to put regular heel flaps in my current socks. So I cast on a hat and I made a hat. So this was just some leftover bona fide DK weight yarn that I have, semi-solids, and I cast it on US 5s because I don't know if I'll keep this hat or not. It may just go in my like charity hat or be a gift hat or something. But I cast it on US 5s because I wanted to make it snug, and I did 2x2 ribbing, and it's so funny because I cast on 84 stitches before I left the house, but I didn't join them in the round to start knitting because usually that's what I would do if I was going to a movie. I would cast on, join it in the round, and already be started on it before going to the movie, but I didn't do that. I only cast on. So we got to the movie, and we got there like just as the previews were starting, so it was getting dark in the theater. So not only was I knitting 2x2 ribbing in the dark, but I was joining in the round without twisting my stitches and knitting that first round in the dark. And I did it, and I'm super proud of myself. And I didn't mess up my 2x2 ribbing at all either in the dark, which is actually something that is surprising to me because normally my movie knitting would just be stockinette. But for whatever reason, I didn't get that far, and well, obviously I didn't get that far because I just cast it on. Anyway, all that to say, I just did ribbing the whole entire movie, and then I went on and did stockinette, and I used up almost all of this soft black, and then this is sand, this color, which is sort of looking a little yellowish right now, but it's not. It's a light taupey color. So yeah, I was glad to use up my scraps. So it's so funny because I had Bill try this on, my husband, just so I could take a picture for my Ravelry project page. And he's like, okay, I really like how this one fits. I'm like, okay, I didn't knit that for you though. I mean, if he would have said, I really want this hat, I would have given it to him. But he's like, okay, but I really like how this fits. So the next time you make me a hat, that's how I want it to fit. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. He's very particular about how his hats fit. So now I know what to do. But he really liked the double, like having this doubled, folded up, and it being as snug as it was. And he could pull it way down over his ears. Because I think past hats I've made him maybe don't come down quite as far as he likes them. I don't know. And they haven't been the doubled brim either. So anyway, that's a hat, a finished hat. Did I tell you everything? US 5s, bona fide. Yeah, I'll have to take a picture of it sometime or maybe give you a little tour up at the mountain house sometime. I don't know. There's not a lot to see yet of my stuff up there, knitting-wise. But I have a basket tower. It's got 5 baskets in it that I used to use when I vended. And I would put stuff in them in my booth. But I've since replaced that with something else for my booth. So I have this basket tower that's not really being used. And so I took it up there so that I could take more of my yarn stash up there because I didn't have a lot up there yet. So now I have one full basket of all like worsted and DK weight leftovers from projects. And I'll tell you, I think that might be my favorite basket because I can just look at that and like pull something out and start knitting on it. Even if it's not something that I'm going to actually finish. Like if I'm just sitting there, like we were sitting in front of his computer in the office the other day and he was trying to show me something and needed me to help him decide stuff. And I was like sitting there. It was late and I was tired, but it was like, this was sort of a boring process for me because he was basically just verbalizing stuff. You know how you do sometimes, like you need to say it out loud in order to process it for yourself, but you want somebody else there hearing it, even though they can't give you any really good input. That's what was going on. And I just kept looking over at my basket. I'm like, I should start knitting something. But I felt like that would have been rude to have gotten up right in the middle of him trying to do this and grab yarn, but I don't know. But it's there, and I love having it there. So that's where that yarn came from. That's why I was telling you that. So anyway, that is my only finished object this week. I have worked on a couple of other projects. My Rudbeckia shawl. I love this shawl. I say this every time. I did end up putting it on a longer cable, so that's exciting. So here it is. I have finished these first 3 sections, which I had finished last week. You saw those. Those are the lace sections, the lazy lace sections. So I've now done this 4th section, which is a linen stitch. And again, it's in soft black, so it's not super easy to see that patterning, that texture, but it's there. There's like stockinette and stockinette, but then in the middle, there's the linen stitch section. So the next section, I believe, is another linen stitch section, but it'll be in the pink Cadillac colorway. So again, this is the Rudbeckia shawl by Steel City Fiber Collective is where it's published through. The designer's name, I have to look it up because I didn't put it in my show notes, is Anna. I know that's her first name. Her first name is Anna. Anna, I'm getting there. Hang on. I'll just sing to you. Anna Sylvester is the designer's name. So, and I am knitting this again out of my Bounce Base in the soft black and pink Cadillac colorway. And I have no idea if I showed that to you because I don't have my screen up. There we go. Yeah, you could probably see what I was talking about. Wow, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm a little hyper this morning, and I haven't even had that much coffee, but it's Monday. I love Mondays. Mondays are full of potential. I feel like if I have a really, really good Monday, I think that sets the tone for the rest of the week. It doesn't always mean the rest of the week goes superb, but it's a nice way to start the week. Okay, so that is what I worked on, the Rudbeckia shawl. Like I said, I did transfer it to longer needles, and the needles that they're on now, I think I was on Hayas before, but these are the Knitter's Pride Dreams, the wooden needles. I love these needles so much. These are among my favorite. Haya and Knitter's Pride Dreams are my favorite needles ever. Okay, and it's in my Bags by Awesome Granny crazy bag that has all the psychotic looking animals on it. I love this bag. Alrighty, so I worked on that, and then last night I needed something semi-simple to work on because we went out for dinner. My son took me and my husband out to dinner for Mother's Day, and then when we got back, Bill and I sat down, and it was so early. We don't usually eat dinner till later in the evening, but it was early because we wanted to go out before the huge crowds got to the restaurants, and so it was like 6:30 when we got back. We're like, wow, we're done eating. It's 6:30. So we sat down, we played Scrabble, and I usually knit while I play Scrabble, you know. So I grabbed a sock out of the Stash Dash bin, and I chose to work on my anniversary color sock. So this is the Never Not color, which you've seen before. And I had been I was down to this green stripe. And that was about as far as I was going to make the cuff, which, again, that's why I didn't take it to the movie the other night because I wanted to do a heel flap. So I started the heel flap. I did the blue, but I did about this much of the blue before I started the heel flap because that way I figured once I joined it back in the round, it wouldn't look funny if, like, there was only one round or if it was butted right up to the ground. I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time, and it looks fine. So that is what I did. So I've got my regular slip stitch heel flap, and okay, got to tell you what I did because this was stupid. You know, I've been knitting socks for years and years and years. I have my plain vanilla sock pattern memorized. I've done, I don't know how many heel flaps and heel turns and gusset stitch pickups and everything, and yet every once in a while I still screw up. And so that's what I did. I knit the heel flap, and after I was done with the heel flap, I'm like, okay, time to pick up the gusset stitches. And so I went around, I picked up the first side, and then I knit across the instep, and then I picked up the other side, and then I got down to the bottom, and I went, shh. Well, I didn't say shoot, I said the other word, but I realized I hadn't done my heel turn. It's like, ugh. I've done that before, but what I did, because I was being lazy, I just went ahead and I knit my heel flap at that point, instead of tinking back around those two, like taking the picked up stitches out and the instep stitches and the other picked up stitches and then going back across where the heel flap was. I did the heel turn there, and it worked fine because it's right where it's going to be. It does look a little bit different. There's kind of like a strange little ridge. I think that might be more because of how the needles were. It was very tight, like having all those stitches on the needles while I was doing the heel turn, because usually when you're doing heel turn, the only stitches on the needle that you're working on are the heel flap stitches. Instead, I had not only the heel flap stitches, but also that first half of the picked up stitches, and then my other needle had the instep and the other half of the picked up stitches. So it was quite tight to work with, I have to say. So I think that's probably where that little ridge came from, but otherwise it's fine. I will probably do the other sock the normal way, as long as I don't, you know, get stupid and forget again. But anyway, that's what I knit on during Scrabble, and after Scrabble, Bill was like, let's see if we can go watch Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Can we rent that on DirecTV? I have DirecTV. He's been wanting me to watch this movie. And, you know, if you've heard me talk about the movies he's wanted me to watch before, you know I have, like, dubious feelings about a lot of them because his taste in movies and mine are quite different. And after the last experience with Out of Africa, which I did not enjoy at all, I was like, he's like, you'll like this. It's funny. I'm like, okay. And I mean, this is an old movie. I think it was made maybe in the 70s because it's Paul Newman and Robert Redford. They were quite young. And Paul Newman isn't even alive anymore. I love Paul Newman. I got to tell you, he is one of my favorite actors. I totally have a crush on Paul Newman even now. He actually, my dad and him, when my dad was younger, he looked a lot like Paul Newman. That might be part of the reason why. But I have an affinity for him. I've never been much of a Robert Redford fan. And it's funny because Robert Redford was also in Out of Africa. Yeah, didn't really care for that. Anyway, whatever. So I did find it. So we rented it. And so I continued knitting on this. So that's why I got down through all of the gusset decreases, and now I'm on the foot. So I'll probably take this along with me for well, you know what? I'm not going to have car knitting on this trip, which I'll explain later. Anyway, but it may come with me on the trip regardless, because I need trip knitting, right? Okay, so that is my bounce base in the Never Not Color colorway, which is the anniversary colorway. And oh my gosh, I have a snag on my nail and it keeps catching on everything, but it's too far down for me to really cut it completely off. I know you needed to know that. Anyway, so that is the other project I worked on this week. I did knit some on my, or crochet some on my granny stripes. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. I have to back up and tell you one other thing about the sock. This was the sock. You might remember me telling you that when I needed to start another sock, I stole the needles out of this sock and substituted this set, which is still the right size. It's still US 1s, which is what my default fingering weight sock needle is. But it's the Nova Platinas that has this black cord that I feel like just doesn't have enough memory. And it was the first time I tried it, I didn't really like it for sock knitting, magic loop. But anyway, when I took it out to start knitting on it last night, I forgot that I had switched the needles out. So I was knitting on it and I realized, hey, I'm not having any problems with this. And so I just thought, okay, this is great. I'll use them. The only time I did really have an issue with the cable was when I first picked up all of the gusset stitches and was like finagling with the heel turn all weird. I probably would have had a problem with that regardless of what cable had been on it though. But the first few rounds of knitting the gusset decreases were a little awkward, and I had to like actually pull the needle back through with the cable rather than pushing it back through, because usually like I'm pushing it like this. And see, like right now it's fine because the stitches aren't on there with a complete death grip. But anyway, yeah, it worked out fine. So I'm glad to know that I can actually use these needles and not hate them, because that means I've got one more pair of sock knitting needles, and that means I can always have one more pair of socks on the needles, because you can never have too many pairs of socks on the needles, apparently. Okay, so that's everything that I knit on. I did crochet several more stripes onto my Granny Stripes blanket. I'm almost through with the yarn, the minis that I got when I swapped with Lori, who is the Frosted Cow. I think that is her username on Ravelry. I hope I didn't get that wrong. Anyway, once I finish that, I think I have one more mini to go, and then I'll be done with all the yarn she sent me. So after that, I will bring that back here. It's up at the mountain house. I'll bring that back here, and I'll show you my progress on it with all of the yarn from her in it. And then I pulled out the next batch of, I just kind of randomly pulled them out. I've got a big bag over here with all of the swap yarn that I got, and the next batch is the ones that I got from Tommy, who is Dynamite Trujillo on Ravelry, and I talked about her last week because I showed you the yarn I got from her new shop. So anyway, these are the little yarns that Tommy gave me, and aren't they cute? They've got all these cute little kitty cat notes in them. Aren't they adorable? So anyway, I can't wait to add these yarns to my Granny Squares or Granny Stripes blanket. So I have to take those up to the mountain house. That's why they're sitting out. Okay, so that is everything I worked on. I really did not do any spinning of note. I actually sat the other night. I have a, I showed you my little tiny little green Turkish spindle that I have. I have not worked on that, but I have a bigger Turkish spindle that's up at the mountain house, and I just on a whim kind of pulled that out the other day and played around with it for maybe 10 minutes. That's all the spinning I did this week, but it was very relaxing. At those 10 minutes were great. So that's it. On deck, I did want to talk to you a little bit. I mean, obviously, after seeing everything I have basically on deck to work on through Stash Dash, I don't really need any more projects. However, you know, I showed you the 3 sweater lots of Cascade 220 that I've purchased recently from Webs, and I've got other sweater lots of yarn. And I may have placed another Webs order this week, which is not here yet, that had, well, last week, of the Elspeth of Old Silky Wool, one sweater, just one sweater quantity of it. Anyway, here's my thought about sweaters, because I really would like to cast on another. I mean, I know I have other sweaters on the needles. I have the Rusty cardigan, which has started barely. I have the color work cardi that I'm doing out of the Let Lopey. I think both of those, are those in my, I think those are maybe in my stashed out. I don't remember if they're officially in there or not at this point. Whatever. I know those are on the needles, but those are both sweater projects that I'm considering kind of experimental, especially the Rusty, because of the yarn that I'm using. It's that Plotulopi, which is just that unspun singles, and that's the only reason I'm knitting that sweater, is because I wanted to knit with that yarn, or pseudo yarn, whatever you want to call it. So that's not even something that I'm like super, like, I have to get this done. I want the experience of using that yarn. And the one that I'm making, the color work one that I'm making out of the Let Lopey, the Hero cardigan, I am making that because I wanted to knit out of the Let Lopey, which I've used I've used Lopi-ish yarns, Lopi yarns before, not the Let Lopi. I've used the heavier Lopi, but I wanted to do the color work in this one, and I wanted to steek. So that's the main reason I'm making that sweater. So is that a steeked sweater? Oh gosh, maybe that one's not the steeked sweater. Oh, it's not. It's not a steeked sweater, but a couple of people have told me about a modification that they've made to that where they started doing the color work section in the round and they've steeked that part. And I think I'm going to do that. That makes a lot of sense to me rather than doing color work back and forth, because that is a pain. I've done that before. Anyway, with regard to sweaters, you know, the sweater that I made last year that I absolutely adore and love to pieces is my antler cardigan. And it fits so nicely. Just, I love it so much. And that's kind of my new standard for a nice worsted weight sweater. And so I keep looking at sweater patterns, trying to find something that I think will fit me similarly to that. And yet I keep going back to that. Yet I don't need a half dozen antler cardigans. However, this is my new idea. Since I love that antler cardigan so much, and I know exactly what I did to make it fit, the modifications worked out perfectly, what I'm thinking I'm going to do for at least one sweater, and I'll see how it goes, is I'm going to use that pattern as a basic pattern just to do a sweater, not necessarily with the antler motif up here though. I'm going to use it for the body, and then once I do get up to the yoke, I'm going to try substituting in some other cable motif. Or I will maybe do some sort of color work motif, because I think you could probably do that. I don't know. It would take some math. I'd have to do some mathing, and you know, I can do that. And I'm also thinking I could probably do the math necessary to convert to use other weights of yarn using that same pattern. I know that's a lot of work and it seems silly, but you know, when you think about it, there are people who do knit the same things over and over and over because they love how they fit and they really like them and they're flattering on them or whatever. And that's sort of how I'm feeling about that antler cardigan. I just love it so much. And I would actually probably not mind having a half dozen of those. But I think, you know, I'm an experienced enough knitter that I think I can play with that motif up at the top and see what I can do with it so that I can do other things and just have a nice stable of really good fitting cardigans. So that is my thought. It's obviously not like an immediate on deck kind of need, like I'm not planning to cast on tomorrow by any stretch, but I'm thinking about that. And I think it's maybe a good workable idea. So let me know what you think. If you have any thoughts or input on that, I would love to hear it, because there might be something I'm not thinking about. But feel free to post in the episode thread and let me know what your thoughts are on that. As far as other crafting, I am about to embark on a sewing project because my daughter's graduating on Saturday, and rather than wear something I already own, or rather than just going to the mall and buying something, I thought, hey, we're leaving Friday. So yesterday I did this, Sunday. I have 4 decent days. I could sew something. I'm so crazy. Gosh. Anyway, I actually have other fabric. You've seen it before that I purchased with the intent of making some skirts. None of them, they were meant to be skirts I made over the winter last year and have not. And they're all sort of darker and they're not really springy colors. So I didn't want to use any of those. So I went to Joann Fabrics yesterday. I kind of hate shopping for fabric almost as much as I hate clothes shopping for like ready-made clothes. Only because I never feel like my Joann's has a very good selection of fabrics. But anyway, long story short, I had some patterns. Actually, I had several patterns. I had the pattern that I used for a kind of a template for my petticoat that I put underneath my wedding skirt last year. I had that skirt pattern. But for whatever reason, I opted not to use that. And then I had found this skirt pattern, which is Simplicity number 1369. Which is very nice. It's got a waistband and pockets. Pockets are lovely. And I was going to make that middle length. Actually, the one I think that the model's probably wearing, I don't know. Or actually, yeah, I was picturing like this length, you know, right above my knee. So that's what I went to the store with this in mind to get fabric. What I really wanted was a pretty floral, like a poppies or something bright. Couldn't find anything like that at all in a suitable fabric. And so I then found linen, and I thought, well, I could do a linen skirt, just a solid linen skirt, and make a top that would have, you know, pattern. But I really don't want to do a linen skirt because, number one, linen wrinkle like crazy, and I just didn't want a solid color on my bottom half. I'd like to camouflage things with print, frankly, bumps and such. So then I found this fabric, which, okay, here, that's the wrong side. Here's the right side. Isn't that pretty? I think it's pretty. You might be thinking, ugh. It looks kind of almost like crazy palm leaves, but it's not actually palm leaves. It's just, you know, a nice palm. I think that's actually what the name of it was, like palm print or something. I don't know. I really like it. It's a crepey sort of material. So it's super thin. Like you can kind of, can you see me through it? Can you see me through it? I don't know. It's definitely sort of sheer, but not completely. But it's also darks. Oh yeah, you can definitely see my hand through there. So my thought was, okay, I can wear a slip under it, which I'm probably going to have to do, or I could line it. I couldn't figure out what to line it with, and the fabric I did find that I thought would work as a lining was as expensive as the fabric. I thought, I'm not making a freaking $80 skirt by the time I'm done with this. So I just bought the fabric. I'll wear a slip. I hate wearing slips, but whatever. So this is going to be my fabric, but this fabric was not appropriate for this skirt. So then I got to the pattern books, and I'm like, I just need a simple skirt. I honestly probably could have just figured this out on my own. At that point, I just wanted a plain skirt, gathered skirt with an elastic waistband. That's all I wanted. Didn't want to deal with a zipper, didn't want to deal with waistband and interfacing, just wanted a plain skirt. So that's what I found. This is McCall's M6994, and it has several variations. I'm going to make this one, which is actually the one that the girl is wearing. So it will come right above my knees. There's this funky little, I forget what that's called, handkerchief kind of dealio. And then there's really long ones, which this would actually be nice for like a knit fabric, I think, like doing a maxi skirt. I'm not doing that, but it would work for that. Anyway, I also like it because it's learn to sew for fun. So it's a super simple pattern. And again, I've actually made these kind of skirts. I used to make these for my daughter when I did petticoats for her, actually, like circle skirts. So I probably could have just winged this and done it without a pattern. But I chose to get the pattern just to make my life easy. So that's going to be the skirt. And I'm probably going to sew that today because I'm pretty sure I can whip that out super fast. And then I'll at least have the skirt. If I need to, I can wear a top I already own. I don't really have any that I particularly love with this fabric, but even just a black top would work with this if I really had to do that. However, I did buy fabric for a top, and this is knit. Jersey, I guess, is, I don't know. It's stretchy. I've never really sewn with, well, that's not true. I have sewn with this, but not to make a garment. So I'm doing, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I really like these two fabrics together. I think they look nice together. And again, I really wanted just a simple top pattern, and I recently purchased two patterns, and this was the one I really wanted to make, but again, this fabric is not appropriate for this top. This is Simplicity 8061. I really wanted to make this top, and honestly, if I used that print fabric, it would be perfect for this top. But again, I don't want the stretchy, cling to all my bumps fabric as my skirt. I really don't think I do. I want the pattern as my skirt. So this was what I wanted to make. That is not going to happen. I did find a pattern that I really liked. It wasn't a boat neck. It was kind of like a gap, like the fabric just kind of fell in folds here in the front. And the sleeves, they were not actually like set in sleeves. They were just, it was one piece. Front was one piece, back was one piece. And the way they shaped, just shaped sort of like a drapey little sleeve cap. Really like that. Do you think they had the pattern there? They didn't even have it in a different size that I could have tweaked it. No, they were totally out of it, even though they were teasing me because they had the divider that had that pattern number up at the top. But they had a totally different pattern behind it. Drives me crazy. Couldn't find it. I searched through the whole drawer because I've done this enough times to know that sometimes things are misfiled in those pattern drawers, but that pattern was not there. So anyway, another pattern that I do have on hand is a Berta, Berta Young. I'm not young, but I'm going with this. Super easy pattern for basically just a t-shirt. Now, they show this t-shirt, what's the number? 6716. They show this t-shirt with negative ease. Like, that's the way it's supposed to be worn. No way am I making it that way. Just not happening. I will be modifying this pattern so that it has some positive ease and drapiness to it, because I can't wear something that clingy, especially in a solid color. That would be horrible. Yeah, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this top with the short sleeves in this length. That's my plan. And make it a little looser. You know, the problem with sewing is I approach sewing patterns much the same way that I approach knitting patterns. Is I look at them and I say, huh, I like that, but I'd like it better if this was different and I changed this and this looked this way. When it comes to knitting patterns, I'm fairly adept at being able to do that and make those mods without too many negative ramifications. With sewing, not so much. I don't have the same level of sewing skills. So it's going to be an adventure. But again, I bought extra fabric. Oh gosh, that was the other thing. This crepey skirt fabric that I bought, they did not have quite enough yardage for what I thought I would need. Because the skirt it calls for 60-inch fabric. This is only 45-inch fabric. So based on how they have the pattern laid out, I looked at this schematic. I thought, well, I can do this a different way, because direction is really not a big issue with this fabric, I don't think. I could be fooling myself, but I don't think it will be. Definitely not with the print. I'm not sure about the nap and I don't really know what that means. I do know what that means, but I'm not sure how that affects this particular pattern. Anyway, I bought extra fabric thinking I can, instead of doing it the way they have it shown, I can do it in 2 separate pieces. I know that probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you at this point because you don't have the picture in your head that I do. I think it'll work. And I know I wanted to buy extra fabric for the shirt too. And of course they didn't. I got the end of the bolt. That was it. And that wasn't quite as much, but I still think it's actually more than what I need based on what the pattern calls for the size that I'm going to make. Even adding extra ease to it, I think it'll be okay. We'll see. This is all going to be an adventure. The other thing is that they say, oh, you need this double needle to make this with jersey. I don't have a double needle. I didn't think to buy a double needle. I'm not using a double needle. Hopefully that's not like a deal breaker in making this shirt. I don't know. I mean, my mom sewed a lot when I was younger, and I know she sewed a lot with stretchy polyesters and stuff like that when I was a kid. I know she never used a double needle, so I'm thinking it's possible without the double needle. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be fun, but that's a hopeful project. At least the skirt's going to get done. Hopefully the top, whether I like the top or not, I don't know. If I don't, I actually may modify it. Oh gosh. If I have the fabric. I don't know if I'll have the fabric left. I probably won't. I don't know. Because my other thought is, instead of doing this top, to just sort of wing it and try to make my own version of that top that I liked but couldn't find a pattern for. I may even look online to see if I can find a downloadable pattern for this shape of top that I really liked. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I have so much to get done this week, and this is what I'm focusing on, is like, oh, I have to sew a complete outfit to wear to my daughter's graduation. You're an idiot, Lisa. Go to Penny's and buy something. Gosh. Anyway, so that's sewing. We'll see how that goes. Stay tuned. I need to make a correction to something I told you in the last episode. I talked about these knit blockers, and I told you that I ended up, here, better picture, Knitter's Pride, knit blockers. I told you that they had been on sale at Webb's, but they were like 50 some dollars, and I got them on Amazon for like 23 something. And then somebody wrote to me and they're like, I can't find them like for less than whatever on Amazon, which is pretty close to what they are on Webs, you know. And so I looked and I realized I'm a total doofus. The set that I was looking at on Webs actually was the knit blockers plus a set of blocking mats. It was like a set, which is why it was 50 some dollars. Webb's does have these for 25, I think. The ones I got on Amazon, again, they were 23 and some change, so they were a little bit less expensive, and I didn't have to pay shipping because I'm an Amazon Prime member. But it was not as huge a savings as I sort of made it out to sound like, because I didn't forget. I just didn't realize that the ones that I've been looking at on the website was the Webb's website. Was a set with mats. So sorry if I misled you there. What else? I don't have anything else new to show you this week because my most recent Webs order isn't here yet. Let's talk about the knit along, the year in the life of a knitter. We're still in May. Chatter is still going on, so keep it up. The May focus is fingering weight yarns, and our May challenge is May flowers. So you're knitting things with either a flower motif in it, or using yarn or a pattern that has the word flowers or a specific type of flower in it to qualify those projects for the May challenge. So if you have any questions about any of that, feel free to post it in the chatter thread and I will answer them, or PM me on Ravelry and I'll answer them. All right, so we have a question from the Do You Have Any Questions thread this week, and the question is from Chameleon Knitter, who is Azizi. I love your name. That's so much fun to say, Azizi. She writes, I love your podcast. Thank you. And I'm also interested in spinning. I was wondering, how did you start spinning? And did you take a class or did you just start? Also, what type of wheel did you start with and what would you suggest for a beginner? Okay, let me take those questions one at a time. How did I start spinning? Pretty much the same way I do almost everything, is like I just dive in. I did start with a drop spindle, and my very first drop spindle or two, I think, were ones that my ex-father-in-law made for me at my request. The first one weighed probably about 4 pounds. Seriously, it was crazy big and heavy. Like I could have spun like boating rope or something with it. It was not usable. The second one was lighter weight, and it was functional, but it didn't really do what I needed it to do. But that was also probably operator error because I couldn't get it. I did end up taking a drop spindle class at one point, fairly early on in my spinning attempts, that was local, or that was offered through a local yarn shop. So I did get the basics that way. I still was definitely not an adept drop spinner by any stretch of the imagination, but I did continue to try to drop spindle. I would say for the next year or so. I did actually end up getting like a professionally made drop spindle. I don't even remember. It was a D-stash that I got from someone, and I don't remember the make of the spindle. I still have it. It's up at the mountain house. Is it? It might be here. I don't know. I'm not going to grab it. But anyway, yeah, so I mean, I started out, as a lot of people do, trying to learn with a drop spindle. About a year into my spinning, maybe a little bit more, I ended up getting a wheel. And my first wheel was an Ashford Traveler that I got off of Craigslist. It was a really good price for a used wheel, and it was a very used wheel. It is, I would say, quite rickety. I mean, part of that is just the fact that it is very old. I would say it's probably a 70s vintage spinning wheel based on the paperwork and booklet and stuff that I got. I want to say 70s, probably at least 80s at the very latest, but probably, so I don't even know how long Ashford's been making their spinning wheels, or that particular wheel, but I'm thinking that's one of their older ones. Anyway, I got it. It had definitely seen better days, but I cleaned it up and tightened things, and it was fine. And I still use it. That's the wheel I have up at the mountain house. I love that wheel. It's a double treadle. It's got Scotch tension as well as double drive, where you use the band to tension your bobbin. I love that wheel. Later on, I did actually get a Shack Sidekick, which is the wheel that I keep here at my house because I have the jumbo flyer and I can ply on it. Not that that's the reason I have it at my house, but I have that option on this wheel, so I can make larger skeins to ply when they're plied. Those are the only two wheels I have. Every once in a while I dream about getting another wheel, but I really don't have use for another wheel. I'm fine with these two. What I will say is I never did take, well, that's not true. I did take a spinning class, but that was long into my spinning. I'd been spinning for a while, and it was the first year I went to SSK, and there was a spinning class offered with Lynn Zimmerman. She did a basic techniques kind of class, which I took, and it was helpful. She's a very, very good spinner. And then I also took a core spinning class one time with Laura at SSK. It may have been that same year, actually. But in general, the spinning on the wheel, I just sort of taught myself for the most part. And honestly, I learned much better on my wheel than I did anytime with the drop spindle. In fact, I feel like once I got adept at spinning on the wheel, I was a better drop spindler because I understood the process better. That's how it worked for me. I can't say that your mileage would be the same on that, but that's how it worked for me. And yeah, I'm a huge advocate of just kind of diving in and trying. Obviously, you don't want to just buy a wheel to do that if you're not sure if you're going to even like it. If you've got a guild near you, a lot of times you can go to the guild meetings and somebody will let you use a wheel, or they might have, wheels that you can borrow or rent. There are, shops. If you have a shop near you that sells spinning equipment, they're usually perfectly happy with you coming in and trying out their wheels, because that's how people know what they want to buy. So I would definitely do that. Or if you go to fiber festivals, a lot of vendors will have wheels at fiber festivals that you can sit down and try. If you go to a retreat, like SSK is one, they have the tasting room one night all the time, and they had, oh my gosh, I don't remember how many wheels they had set up last year to try. They had a lot, and that was very nice. I sat down and played with a lot of wheels. Anyway, I would definitely try a wheel first. If you've not spun before, somebody's probably there that can you can ask, and they'll help you out to get started. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there. I did not have a chance to actually look for any specific ones, but I would say just Google, go to YouTube or Google and, spinning videos, spinning wheel, and you'll see a lot. And that's a really good way to learn. So that would be my suggestions. I hope that's helpful. If you have any further questions about that, feel free to ask follow-ups if that didn't answer everything for you. But thank you for your question. And feel free, anybody else, if you have any other questions, please post them in that Do You Have Any Questions thread, and I'll answer them in a future episode. All right, that's everything I've got for 90%. 10%, I will tell you that I finished listening to The Professor and the Madman by Simon Winchester. Really loved that book. It was a bit graphic at certain points of things that went on during the history of these two men that the book is about, especially the madman, who was Dr. Gosh, now why am I'm Minor, Dr. Minor. Yeah, it's a story about the two of these men who were very key in the making of the Oxford English Dictionary. But the story is fascinating. I really liked it, so I would say give it a listen if you like that kind of history. Currently, I am listening to a really short book called I Shouldn't Even Be Doing This by Bob Newhart. It's kind of like a short little memoir-ish sort of thing. If you don't know who Bob Newhart is, that means you're too young. No, you're not too young. You may know him as Papa Elf from the movie Elf with Will Ferrell. That was Bob Newhart. But he's a comedian, and he's been around since the 60s. He used to have the Bob Newhart show back when I was growing up, which he's just this very quiet, unassuming guy, and he stammers. He doesn't stutter, but he stammers, and that's kind of his trademark. But that's how he actually talks. It's not an affectation that he's taken on for his comedy. So anyway, the book is okay. What I find is comedians who do memoirs, the memoirs are not really all that funny. That's been my experience. Maybe I've just not listened to the correct ones, but it's good, but it's not great. And because of the stammer, and as extensive as it is sometimes, especially when he's doing his bits, I can only listen to it in short amounts because I can't listen to that a lot. I wasn't doing that to make fun of him. I'm just saying I can't listen to that for long periods of time. So, but it's only like a 3-hour long book, and I got it whenever Audible was having that sale recently, because I would not have spent a whole credit on that at all. Anyway, other than that, we've been making progress here at both houses. Yesterday, Bill finished putting the ceiling up in the one corner of the basement, which means I can now move a whole bunch of stuff back into that corner, because that's a storage corner, and that will open life up so much more in my basement. I can't wait to have time to do that. So he's just got one more corner to do the ceiling, which is very exciting. As far as up at the mountain house, this past Saturday we poured concrete. I now know how to mix concrete. Yes, I have added to my life skills. So we did that, and it was kind of a cool, wet day. It wasn't raining, but it was damp, and it had been raining, so it took pretty much all day for that concrete to cure enough for us to do all of the different things that you have to do to concrete, because you have to like use a trowel, and then you do this and that and brush it, and I don't know. By the end of the day, I was able to write our names. I wrote Lisa, or Bill and Lisa 2017 in the edge. That was my big claim to fame for the day. That and mixing the concrete, which I did, which involved shoveling gravel, which, if you'll remember, is the whole reason my back started hurting to begin with a few weeks ago. But I don't think I did any more damage to it. So anyway, while we were waiting for the concrete to do its thing, we were working inside the new building, putting up the hardware necessary to hang the 3 canoes that are now being stored up there. So we got that all done. So those 3 boats are in there, and that concrete's done. We just have one more section of concrete to do, which will be happening hopefully in the next few weeks. So yeah, we're making progress. It's just slow progress, but it's happening. So that's always good. And lastly, my daughter is graduating. Those of you who know Emma or know of Emma, I mean, some of you may know her because you might have met her at shows. She used to go and vend with me at certain shows. She's graduating this Saturday. I am so excited. I'm so happy for her, and I'm proud of her. She's basically gotten her bachelor's degree in 3 years. That includes switching her major after her first year. So I think that's pretty astounding, and she's worked really hard, and everybody is going down. Almost everybody. Christopher is not going down for the graduation, but you know, my mom's going to be there, and her other brother will be there, and then her dad's side of the family. A whole bunch of people are coming from their side of the family, which I won't have to spend a lot of time with them, and that's fine. I was fine with seeing like my ex and his new family and everything. I don't have a problem with that. But like, there's other members of the extended family that are going to be there that I could do without, because as far as they're concerned, I'm, you know, like the Antichrist or something. I don't know. But anyway, we're doing meals, but she's doing like the lunch meal with my side of the family after graduation, and then she'll be doing dinner with her dad's side of the family. I told her I thought that was an excellent idea. It was her idea. Mainly because there's just going to be too many people to seat at one thing. And I said, that's fabulous. Let's do it that way. So anyway, and then she's leaving on Sunday to go on a week-long like convention retreat thing or something with a youth group, or like a college fellowship group that she's been a part of down there. And so Bill and I are going to stay in Charlotte for Sunday and just do our own thing. We're going to we have museums and stuff that we're going to go do and, you know, eat and walk around and see the city. I love Charlotte. It's a great city. So that's our plan Sunday. And then Monday and Tuesday, we are going to come home via the Blue Ridge Parkway. We're taking a bike down, the big bike. I'm not driving the bike. I will be a passenger. This is the bigger cruiser bike that we bought specifically for taking these kinds of trips. So we're going to leave on Monday, and we're basically getting on the Blue Ridge Parkway like in Southern Virginia, so we won't be in the North Carolina end of it at all on this trip. But we're going to take 2 days to go up through there, and we're staying overnight at an inn along the way. And so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully the weather will cooperate, but I've really never done the Blue Ridge Parkway in any official kind of way, so I'm looking forward to that. So we won't be home till Tuesday night. So it's a nice little, just a quick trip, but a nice little break from all the other stuff going on. Alrighty. Shop news. I do have shop news for you. Okay. First of all, the new Fiber Nymph Dye Works Instagram account. I believe I did mention this last week when I recorded, but in case I have not, or in case you weren't reminded, I have started my own Fiber Nymph Dye Works, or I have started a Fiber Nymph Dye Works account in Instagram specifically for business stuff. I have my regular Fiber Nymph account, which is mine, my personal account, still. And I'll continue to post there, but that will again be my private, like my knitting, what I'm knitting and spinning and things we're doing around the house and pictures of cats and my dog and things, you know, fun stuff like that. Pictures from trips. But anything business related, that's specifically going to be going on the new account. So it's at Fiber Nymph Dye Works is the account name. So if you want to stay up to date about updates, clubs, sales, promotions, giveaways, anything like that, that's where you need to be, because I'm cross-posting some things still, but I don't want to do that forever, because that's the whole idea. I want to get my business stuff off my private account and just have it on the business account. So please follow the new account. I would love to have you there. As an incentive for joining and following that account, I'm giving away 3 $25 gift certificates to the shop. I'll be doing one drawing each on May 20th, which is this coming Saturday, graduation day, May 27th and June 3rd. And I will post those winners to Instagram. So that's how you will be alerted that you have won through that account. Okay, the Self-Striping Club, the Legends, Myths, and Fairytales Self-Striping Yarn Club, the signups are still going on through tomorrow. So you have until 9 a.m. tomorrow, so about 24 hours left. We've still got plenty of spots left, so if you are interested, go and fill out the questionnaire. You'll find the link to that in the club thread on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Ravelry. It is a heavyweight yarn club, so you have your choice of DK weight, worsted weight, or mega, the bulky weight base, or you can choose to get one of each of those for each shipment. So you would get, you know, not for each shipment, but, you know, one of each throughout the club. So each shipment would be a different weight, so you'd get one of each throughout the club. So again, there are spots still available. That sign up will close tomorrow morning, so head on over there if you would like to join that club. I'd love to have you. As far as the rest of the show inventory, I was looking at it, and I've done 2 updates already with show inventory that I was putting in the shop. The rest of it, I'm not going to put in a specific update. I'm just going to add it to the shop, and I'm hoping to get most of it up this week. Basically, all that's left is DK weight, striping yarn, and semi-solids, as well as variegated and speckled yarns in fingering, worsted, and bulky. I've got a few kits, like pattern kits left, and I've got a few mini sets, but not a lot. So I'm going to just put those up in the shop. I will say that anything that you guys order this week prior to noon Eastern on Wednesday the 17th, I will get shipped out to you before we leave on our trip. Anything ordered after 12 noon on Wednesday will probably not ship until we get back, which would be the 24th. So there will be a slight delay in shipping over my usual how fast I ship things generally. But just know that that's why. And I do have that note at the top of the shop page too. However, what I do want you to know is in honor of my daughter graduating, I am shamelessly using her graduation as an opportunity to do a sale. And it is the Grad Girl sale. Emma was a big part of my business when I first started it. She was one of my biggest helpers. So was Christopher, but Emma especially really enjoyed it. And like I said, she used to vend with me. She, she wound striping patterns for me. She reskeined. She helped me do shipping. She helped me label things. I mean, she was a huge help to me, and I really missed her help once she left for school, darn it. She had to do that college thing. But anyway, I'm super proud of her, and in her honor, I am doing this sale. It starts today, it's going on now, and it will run through next Sunday, which is the 21st, this coming Sunday, I guess. And use the coupon code GradGirl17, because she's a 2017, class of 2017. So GradGirl17, and you can take 17% off any purchase in the shop of in-stock items, special order items, pre-ordered items. The only thing you cannot apply it to is club membership. So if you're joining the club and you haven't purchased your club membership that I put in a reserved listing for you, you can't use that code on that. But anything else, it's eligible to be used for. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. So again, the code is GradGirl17. Hopefully I will remember to put it down here, but it'll be in the show notes too. And it's also at the top of the shop page. So there's no excuse to not use that coupon code. Lastly, finally, I have the information up about the Fiber Nymph Dye Works knit along this summer. It's called the Summertime. That's just being silly. That is not meant to like be a stutter kind of thing. I'm not making fun of anybody, but it's 3 S's, and Summertime, knit along, crochet along. And if you go to the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group, you will find the thread that has all of the rules and guidelines for that, and some really awesome prizes, if I do say so. So let me just run down through the information for this. Basically, all those S's stand for the type of yarn that you're going to use each month. That's what this knit along and crochet along is all about. So in June, use Fiber Nymph Dye Works Self-Striping. July will be for Fiber Nymph Dye Works Semi-Solids, and August will be for Fiber Nymph Dye Works Speckled or Sock Blanks, and/or Sock Blanks, because a lot of my sock blanks are speckled as well. So, and when I say speckled, that means any of my yarns that have speckles. So there's variegated and variegated and tonal stuff that I've done with speckles. There's some self-striping that I've done with speckles. Any of those, if they are speckled for the sock blanks, there you go. But you can also use sock blanks that aren't speckled in August. So, all right. So here are the rules. Number 1, all of the projects that are done for this knit along have to be used 100% Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn. That's kind of the point, because this is a Fiber Nymph Dye Works knit along. So you can only use Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn for this one, as opposed to things on 90% knitting where you can use anybody's yarn. But for this one, just my yarn. All projects need to be started and completed within their month. So self-striping projects are only for June, so semi-solids only for July, so on. A minimum of 100 yards of yarn needs to be used for each project. Crafts allowed in this one are knitting and crocheting only. I'm sorry, but we're going to just do this one. And double dipping is perfectly allowed. If you want to double dip in any other knit-alongs that this would apply for, feel free, as long as they allow it to. As far as finished objects and prizes, I will start finished object threads at the beginning of each month. You're going to post each of your qualifying finished objects in its own separate post each month. So each post will be one project, and that will be a separate prize entry. So if you do like 3 projects in one month, that's 3 different prize entries that you have for that month, as long as they qualify according to the rules. I will award prizes at the end of each month. They will include shop coupons, coupon codes of various amounts, as well as actual Yarny prizes. I will announce the prize winners here on 90% Knitting on the first episode following the end of a month. I will also, since this is a Fiber Nymph Dye Works thing and not specifically for the podcast, I will also notify winners directly through Ravelry when they win. So you'll get notified regardless of whether you've seen the podcast right away or not. In addition to the monthly prizes, anyone who completes at least one finished object for each month of the knit and crochet along, you will be entered into a grand prize drawing for one of 3 grand prizes. The grand prizes are going to be a skein of self-striping yarn, the winner's choice of yarn base and colorway. The second grand prize will be a sweater lot, either of my cozy, which is worsted weight, or my bona fide base, and that includes 4 skeins of yarn. If you need more than that, we can discuss that, but the actual prize is for 4 skeins. That's what my sweater lot is that I have listed in the shop, by the way. And lastly, the last grand prize will be a $75 Fiber Nymph Dye Works shop gift certificate. So those 3 prizes you're eligible to win if you participate in all 3 months of the knit along. So if you have any questions, please put them in that information thread on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group. Or you can PM me directly on Ravelry and ask questions. Please feel free to chatter in that thread. I would love to have you chatter there, get some conversation going about it. And if you'd like to tag your projects either on Ravelry or Instagram, please use hashtag FDW Summertime 17. That will be the hashtag. Yeah, so that is everything. And I will be promoting that on Facebook and on Instagram as well, but I just wanted to let you guys know about it here first. So I hope you will take part. I've never done a knit along on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group before. And I thought it was high time that I did, because I would love to encourage you to use my yarns. I know a lot of you buy them. I see what goes out every shop update and everything. So, and with the sale going right now, and I have a lot of all of these things in the shop, now would be a great time for you to pick some up if you need some and you want to participate in the knit along. So just trying to line everything up. And again, if any of these projects also will qualify for things that we're doing in the A Year in the Life of the Knitter podcast, you're totally welcome to double dip in that way too. You can double dip between the 2 different knit alongs or alongs that I'm doing in both groups. That's totally allowable. All right, I think that is everything for this week. I'm going to go. I have lots to get done today, and I will talk to you next week after I'm back from my trip. It may not be till a little later in the week, depending on how things go, but I will talk to you once I'm back. In the meantime, you'll see me on Instagram, both accounts probably, and yeah, we'll see you later. Have a great week.